Can you hear me? I wonder. No. What is that? What do I sound like? Oh, it's not too bad. Interesting. Amigos, welcome to a breathtaking adventure. I'm your host Sam, and today I'm beyond excited to take you on a journey to the sunny shores of Cancun. On this episode, I'll be your guide, showcasing the incredible sights that Cancun has to offer, from the seductive Escaret Park to the bustling Market 28. We also spend time in the luxurious hotel beaches, the pristine island of Mujeres, and so much more. As I step into this unknown paradise, I'll be documenting my discoveries through the lens of my camera. I've never been to this location, and honestly, I don't know what to expect. Join me as I uncover the hidden gems, the vibrant cultures, and the captivating landscape that make Mexico a photographer's dream. Hola, amigos. Welcome to a breathtaking adventure in the heart of Mexico. I'm your host, Sam, and today I'm beyond excited to take you on a journey to the sunny shores of Cancun. On this episode, I'll be your guide, showcasing the incredible sights that Cancun has to offer, from the seductive Escaret Park to the bustling Market 28. We also spend time in the luxurious hotel zone beaches, the pristine island of Mujeres, and so much more. As I step into this unknown paradise, I'll be documenting my discoveries through the lens of my camera. I've never been to this location, and honestly, I don't know what to expect. Join me as I uncover the hidden gems, the Hey, welcome to my live. I appreciate my one and only viewer. I guess you left. Hey, welcome to my live. Topic of today's discussion is photography. My name is Sam, and I'm essentially going to the A93 guy. Yes, that is true. Um, I don't have the 9 grand yet for it, but you know, we'll see if my photography business help me generate that kind of money. Thanks for coming to the chat. I'm actually in the process of editing a traveling show at the moment, and you're my one and only viewer. I never live stream, so kind of new at this. Essentially my first time doing this, and yeah. So, are you interested in photography? Is that why you watch my channel? You sub to me? I'd love to know what brought you into my channel. I know I post a lot of stupid memes, so maybe that's one of the reasons. But yeah, love to know. Good, good. I'm glad you like them. I like them too. Apparently, they say not to do that if you're trying to build a serious audience, but I don't care. Life is too short. It's all about having fun. So, as I was saying, are you a photographer by any chance? Are you just interested in learning the craft? So, well, while you figured that out, maybe you're typing it out. Maybe I'll I'll sort of introduce the topic. Like I said, we're discussing basically wedding photography for beginners. And so there is essentially a few things that one would need to own in order to start a business that does make sense. And the first one clearly is owning the right gear. And so what I always tell anybody who's interested in this particular line of business, photography, the easiest way to generate money is clearly photography. So yeah, I'm glad you like you're learning the craft. It's actually very interesting. I didn't think I would like it as much when I first started my business. I To just give you a little bit of background information, I just started it because I needed a little bit of more money. I was working full time, and so I figured through a podcast, um, they said that there is some money that you can generate easily through wedding photography. So I started it, and I liked it. I've always been into the arts, so that's how it all began. That's a little bit of the background story, and then I fell in love with it, and that's what I do now. So again, if you're interested in learning the craft, I always tell my students to not to spend too much money initially on gear. I know the A93 is like state of the art, the latest camera that came out this year, and it would be awesome to own. But even though I do this for a living, I would never dare to spend that kind of money to if I wanted to make any kind of profit. Yeah, $8,000 Canadian, I think 8,000 something, and that doesn't even come with the lens. It's crazy. It's not even. I don't think it's worth it. Wedding photography does not need like top of the line cameras to be truthful. You just need something decent. Yeah, it's crazy. I know. Like, who is it for? I'm not really even sure at the moment. Probably videographer because the new technology that comes with it is the global shutter. Essentially, I don't know if you have a bit of experience using cameras, but whenever you're panning with a sensor, what will happen is the image will kind of be sideways and jittery, and what that's because like a sensor on the camera is a square and it reads. But now what it does is it just takes big snapshots and it's supposed to get rid of all that stuff. But I still don't think that's worth 9 grand. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I don't think it's worth it. So, anyways, I always tell any of my clients that who want to start this is to use camera. I actually started with a $300 Canon camera. I think it was like the 5D Mark One. Came out I think in 2000 and I don't know 2006, and it was already 10 years old, maybe even more when I bought it. I think it's 10 or 15 megapixel if I remember correctly. DSLR, yeah, fucking excuse my language, but big heavy shutter. Every time you took a picture, all you heard was shalonk, shalonk. I guess if you want to look professional, bring a big imposing camera that makes a lot of noise and everybody thinks you're a pro. But anyways, $300. I really learned the craft because yeah, me too. I started with the DSLR. I'm actually now using mirrorless camera. If you follow my channel, you'll probably know that I use Fujifilm. I own three of these, so I love them. I don't know if you know Fujifilm, but they're APS-C cameras, so they're smaller sensors. But honestly, like the lenses is what makes the big difference when it comes to camera technology. So um, I love it. I love mirrorless camera because the exposure is what you see, what you get on the back of the screen. So you don't have to take a picture and then look. That's not necessary. What do you shoot with? You love DSLRs. What do you currently own? An XT4. Yeah, that's what I. That's what it is. I have two other cameras, two XT3s, and I'm maybe considering either. And I haven't made this decision yet, but I'm thinking either go with the XH2S, which is the new Fujifilm that has a like. Sorry to hear that, man. That sucks. Um, yeah. How did that happen? That sucks, man. Yeah. Buy you something used, man. You don't necessarily need like expensive. The baby. Ah, sorry to hear that, man. That sucks. I not this camera, but I have a XT3 that I usually like will bring a camera on a monopod on any given wedding, and I will leave it on the monopod and walk away, and some kid ran into my monopod and dropped it on the ground. It didn't break, luckily. That would have been an expensive $1,200 out the window, but um, all it did was it popped the battery door open, and the camera was perfectly fine. I'm still using it. So like, yeah, that sucks. Hopefully you get to buy a new one. Maybe I can teach you how to do wedding photography, and you can buy one very quickly, man. Wedding business is very lucrative, so maybe I can teach a thing or two. So like I was saying, since you're going to be buying a new camera soon, uh, yeah, it doesn't take long to start a photography business, man. I think within a year you can easily make good money. So hopefully I can help in that manner. So like I was saying, buy something used. I don't know what you were using, but my recommendation when I started my with my first client, it was a Canon SL2, which is a small little APS-C camera but it shoots at 24 megapixels compared to my current main camera shoots 26, so they're almost identical. And I made some money with it the first few weddings, so like you don't really need to spend that much money. And it was $400. It came with a kit lens, but I got rid of that quickly. I used the 50 Nifty, which is the 50 f1.8. That was the first camera I used, and I think that I paid 500 if I count the lens as well together, and I made $500. So my very first wedding, not counting I guess my first wedding was an elopement. I did it for free. I made $40, but my first real wedding with a officiant in a church and a venue and all that stuff, I made $500. So I broke even quickly. So that's how quickly you can build up gear. And I always recommend to buy used. Yeah, buy used cameras like on eBay. My XT3, I bought it used. I paid $1,200, and I think so far I've done. Yeah, so far I've done. I don't know, just year alone, I did like 25 weddings. So like that's how and I average between $2,000 and $3,000 per wedding. So that's how quickly these things pay themselves off. I don't know where you are in the world. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, so I'm in a pretty big city in Canada. I think we have 1 million people living in this current city, so I have a pretty decent sized population here. But yeah, anyways, buy something used. Um, a Canon SL2 would be a good if you can buy a used Sony, like the A7 II even. They're pretty good. I think you can get one for sure. At Best Buy, I saw it the other day, was $1,200 brand new, and I think with a kit lens. So no big deal there. That's what I would recommend. I would suggest buying used cameras, used lenses. Um, I would say probably a 35 millimeter prime lens would be I guess perfect. I guess a good enough starter lens that can carry you through all day. That would be where I would that's what I would that's what I would start. A used 35 millimeter, and then as quickly as you can buy a 24-70 lens. Like I said, always buy used. Buy It's better to have two used cameras than to have one brand new one. That's what I always tell my students. And quick story, B&H, yeah, they're not a bad. I maybe not. I wouldn't go to B&H because they want to generate profit, and the amount they give you for use, they charge you for used gear compared to new is not the gap isn't wide enough. So I always say like go buy on marketplace, go find the best used cameras is finding someone who loves photography but that doesn't do it for a living, who has low shutter count. Like you can get good deals. They're willing to get rid of them to recover some money, and then you're practically getting a brand new cameras from when you go that route. Don't go to a business that sells photography. That would be a mistake. So that's what I would start. Use camera. Always own two of them. And let me tell you my a little bit of a background. My very first wedding that I offered to shoot for free, I show up to the wedding and it's a hot summer day, and my main camera essentially refused to work because I guess it overheated. It was so hot. So imagine you're starting as a wedding photography. It's an elopement. It's a three-person wedding, so it's not. It is still a wedding, but I was nervous, and my main camera decided to shoot. Crap the bed, and luckily I had another camera, so I quickly switched to that one, and I didn't lose a beat. But I'm not gonna lie to you, having backup gear is so important. I always wonder when I run into other photographers in the field showing up with just one camera, one lens, and like, what happens if one of them breaks? Like, that's crazy. You're gonna be taken out, you're gonna get sued, and then there goes your business. So, always buy used gear, um, good quality camera, good lens. A 2470, something in the 20 to 25 megapixels is would be ideal. Other thing to consider when you're buying a used camera is something with dual slot, dual SD cards, in case one of them craps the bed. Between a Nikon Z6 and a Lumix. Nice, that's pretty good gear, man. Um, that's really good gear. I don't think the Z6 Nikon has dual SD cards though, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that Nikon lost quite a bit of business. Yeah, that's a problem. But I know the Lumix X5, which is I guess the Panasonic video cameras, those are pretty good, and I'm pretty sure that one has a dual SD card. So suggestion is always, oh no, it doesn't. Damn. Whew. I mean, at least you have two cameras, so which means that you technically have two SD card. But I don't like so far. I haven't had a card failure, so like so far so good. So I doubt that'll happen to you, but yeah, one card for Nikon. That's rough, man. I would tell you if you are ever serious about doing this for a living to maybe even sell it and try to buy something that has two SD card, and never go too high with your memory card size. Don't go for anything beyond 128 gigs. 64s are too small. Then you're gonna spend half the day switching out cards. That's annoying. But I think the 128 is perfect because it can carry you halfway through the wedding, and then the other half you can. I usually switch memory cards halfway through um, the wedding. I usually after the ceremony, so I use it for the getting ready, the ceremony, and I get rid of those cards even if they're not full, and I'll switch to a fresh set of cards, which I carry in a bag like this, and then I'll have fresh cards for both my cameras. I'm always rolling with two and a third one on the monopod. And say my SD card crashes on one camera, then I technically only lose like a quarter of the images for part of the day because I'm always switching between typically my XT4 that has a 2470 lens, and then my XT3 that has I guess Fujifilm would be a 56 millimeter f1.2, which is the portrait lens, but a full frame is considered an 85. And so that's what I use typically, and I haven't had an issue yet. So two cameras, at least two lenses. I would typically be using three, I guess I'd say two cameras for the majority of the day, and I might use a third one for the ceremony and the speeches. Yeah, I love them too. They are such beautiful cameras. That's what I actually technically bought them for. I was when I was looking this up. I saw the Fujifilm X-T3, the silver one, and I thought, wow, that's a beautiful camera. Then I started seeing pictures online, and I was like, wow, it's good enough. I'm telling you, Fuji with the lens that they've adapted, honestly, like they're just as good a full frame, and they're cheaper. That's one of the other reasons why I went with Fuji. The cameras are cheaper, the lenses are cheaper, so you're coming in like at a very low price right from the get go. I bought my XT4 brand new for 2 grand. Um, and an equivalent camera of that class would have been $3,000. And then my lenses are like I guess a brand a 2470. I use a Tamron, so it's half the price of the normal Fujifilm lenses. But my my I think my 50 to 140 lens, the 70-200, that costs 2 grand. A 70 to 200, usually like a full frame camera, would cost 3 grand, sometimes more. I'm not sure, but yeah. So buy used, man. I don't see anybody who's doing this for a living. At least the first few year, buy used, and you can really like recoup your money quickly. So yeah, so beyond the camera, the lenses, the memory cards, don't buy anything that's overly expensive. It's better to have more memory cards than expensive memory cards. I use the ScanDisk Pro, the 128s that shoot 200 megabytes. Um, they're fast enough that they can write, and then you could quickly reload. I used to use the 146, the silver SanDisk at the beginning, and they were a bit slower. They were the cheaper version. I decided this is what I'm gonna use, and it's so far it's carried me. That's what most photographers in my town use anyway. So yeah, so those memory cards, obviously, wedding business is super expensive to get started on. So there, eventually, you're gonna have to make hard decisions where you could cheap out, and where I cheap out. I still haven't really spent a lot of money is tripods. I'm using the newer branded tripods. They're good enough for what they do. I just need something stable, and that's it. I'm not gonna go and spend $600, whatever carbon fiber crap that's on the market. So that's what I'm using. I did spend a little bit of money though on my monopod, not because I wanted to, but I needed something with wide lens. Sorry, wide feet, and I use a Siri brand, but those are like 200 and some bucks, and it's good enough. It's perfect actually. It's also carbon fiber, so that's what I run with. Yeah, so those are my gear. You can see on the couch back there, I have a couple of backpacks, and then that's where all my cameras are, my drone, and so just to give you a little bit of context, I don't know how much of my channel you watch, but I I I do photography, but I also do what they call hybrid coverage, which is doing photo and film, and I do have own a drone. You're new, yeah. So while you're new, I suggest learning this craft before you get settled in your ways and it becomes too difficult for you to learn something new. Is learn videography, because I've noticed that it's the trend going forward, delivering photo galleries along with highlight films. So learning videography is super important because everybody complains that photography is too saturated. Yes, that is true, but if there's one way you could set it yourself aside, honestly, is really adding video to your packages. That gives you such a big leg up. And video is so much better. Open gate, yeah. Um, it's such a big game. It sets you apart because honestly, like a lot of photographers, no matter whether you've been in the game for 1 year or 10, 15 years, the camera that we use are so similar. It doesn't take a genius to learn the craft. Once you learn really how to do exposure triangle and you use quality lenses, you can almost replicate what somebody's been doing for 10, 15 years. If you really try hard enough, within a year or two you can catch up. But a lot of photographers don't want to do video because it's difficult, it's harder. But once you the gap from not knowing nothing about photography to learning photography is so much more wider than the gap between learning photography to videography, because videography, you can use a lot of things that you learn from photography once you know how to properly expose your images. And at that point, it's just a matter of just learning how to stabilize the footage and then editing it together and putting some music over it, and boom, bada bing, you can deliver something pretty dope. So yeah, doing video is um, such a big leg up on your competition, and that's how I was able to quickly book a full year worth of work by doing this. And then I do YouTube, so a lot of people see my YouTube videos and trust the work that I do. So yeah, next piece. The other essential business tool, this is less interesting and less sexy, but a CRM, a client relationship management tool. This is basically how to book your clients, how to, send out invoices and take the money, because all this work we're not doing it for free. So a CRM is really the second item I think you should focus on once you have the proper lens. Is to find a system that allows you to take yeah, money is important. It's a lot of work, photography and videography, and you know you got to take that money. People are quick to make you do a lot of hard work, but difficult hard they're slow on like paying you and taking that payment as quickly as possible before they flake. Is important. So a CRM, a client relationship management system, the one I use is, yeah, I have a few stories to tell you, but maybe I'll stick to the basics for tonight. But HoneyBook is what I use. It's not cheap, but it pays for itself because it prevents it. I don't like doing paperwork, so I can quickly send out an invoice saying, hey, this is what I'm going to charge you. This is what I'm going to deliver. And then here's a contract, and sign it and pay with your credit card. Now I have your deposit, and then now they're booked in, and there's no refund in my with me, given that your wedding's a year or two away. Um, if I get a cancellation, I typically can't rebook that weekend, so I'm not gonna commit to you if you're not gonna commit. So I expect my clients to pay up half of the package up front. So if you do that, you kind of force them to follow through with it so they don't flake. And that's what my mentor taught me, and that's what I'm teaching you. So make sure you get a big chunk of that money up front because talk is cheap. Yeah, so CRM, your website um, is also important. It gives you an air of legitimacy. Your website is super important because that's kind of like your digital store. This is where people will go to visit your work, see your portfolio, get your contact information, see what you do. You have your about to page. So build yourself a website as quickly as possible. I use WordPress. I've been in the corporate world for a little bit before I started this business, so I knew how to use WordPress, and so I kind of have an idea how to build a website. So I use that skill to help me build my first web page, my web pages. And you own your website, you own your domain name. So any of these like platforms like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, they could decide to kick you off their platform for no reason if they choose so. So like owning your web page is super important because that's how your clients will find you. So I really recommend from the get-go to build your website, because that's what's gonna really like legitimize you at the eyes of your potential clients. And then obviously do the usual online social media, outreach. So like for photography, the big one is clearly Instagram, even though it's a dying platform, trying to become something that it's not. It's trying to be like TikTok, and it's just dying because it's trying to mimic something that it wasn't. Hey, welcome to my live. Thank you for joining. We're discussing wedding photography today, and we're talking about essential business tools. We've already discussed cameras, and now we're on to other business tools like a web pages and social media. So Instagram is still the best place where you can display your images. Facebook is coming back online a little bit more. So Facebook, Instagram showcase photos. TikTok, I don't know how old you are, but TikTok is also a big one to showcase your work. I know it's kind of hard to showcase photos on a video platform, but if you try hard enough, there's ways. Doing reels back behind the scenes is a big way to showcase your work. So TikTok, but again, TikTok is Gen Z, so like it's the 20-year-olds that are on that platform, and if you are trying to come in there and try to build an audience, and you're like me in your 30s, good luck building an audience. So my biggest focus for me in terms of building a social media um, audience is YouTube is where I put a lot of my effort. That's where I have my largest following, and a lot of my work shows up there. And because it's owned by Google, you know, it's search friendly, so I'm easy to find online. So that's why YouTube is my biggest one. And I don't know about y'all, but it takes a little bit of confidence to show your face online to a bunch of strangers. And but hate comments are what they are. You can just ignore and delete them. But honestly, I'd say social media, Instagram, you definitely have to be on there. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. I would probably say you can ignore that social media platform because it's really for white collar jobs. If unless you're a lawyer or you work in corporate America, LinkedIn is not a place you want to advertise. Exactly. Oh man, you when you get started on these platforms, the first thing you get are haters. They're funny though. I have a pretty thick skin, so I don't care if someone disses me. Go for it. You know, I do it to other people too, so I can't really like hate. I guess sometimes it's just funny. You want to rattle someone, but yeah. So LinkedIn, probably ignore it, and try not to spread yourself too thin because you can get burned out when you're doing social media marketing, being all over the place, trying to be everything at once. It's better that you focus on a couple people, couple of platforms, excuse me, initially just to build that audience, and then work your way from there. So a very underrated thing that sometimes photographer ignore um, is Google My Business page. Google My Business page is very important because you can get testimonials, and it shows up as a business page on Google Maps. So I would suggest that you, as soon as you build your website and you have your social media platforms, create a Google My Business page and start taking testimonials and showing your work there. Because Google being the biggest search engine, if you have one more item that they could, gauge and reinforce authority for your business, then it why not do it, right? All it's free, right? And what's cheaper than free, right? So do it. And if you subscribe to my channel, I would love to give you a few more secrets to how to use Google My Business page to attract ideal clients. But that's more on the advanced topic, so I'll skip over that. And the next piece is now that you have your camera, now you have your website, now you have a client finally. So someone rings you up and they are interested in booking with you. So this is when you really gotta make sure that you have systems in place. So consultations, when you first someone reaches out, touches out, sends you an email, says, "Hey, I'm interested. My wedding is on July 3rd this summer, and they're interested in booking you." You want to make sure that you're prepared for those calls. There are a lot of templates, questions to ask your potential clients. So what I typically do whenever someone reaches out is I send them my price, my page, my website, and I also send them galleries that are completed because you can only post so many photos on Instagram and your website before it bogs down. So what I do is I will send them a link to galleries that I've already delivered to previous clients. So now they can see the full set of images they'll get plus the video, and it shows them an end product, and they'll know exactly what they'll get whenever you send that gallery to them up after their wedding, right? So I send them a couple examples, and if they decide to ask for more, I will typically ask them to get on the phone, and I'll book a meeting with them, a 20-minute phone call with them, and then I have like a number of questions that I will typically ask them beyond, like where's your wedding and what date. Usually they'll tell you that up right from the get go, but things like asking them about their guest list, um, that's an important question. Maybe perhaps while I have you guys here, I can show you what my consultation document. I'm gonna share my screen. So give me a sec. Here, I'm gonna open that. So yeah, so my I always create a folder for any potential clients who want to book with me, and then I have a series of questions that I will typically ask them, and so like I said, once I know when is the wedding date and the location, biggest one is the guest list because that's important. Um, because if it's a small wedding, then you can typically work by yourself, which I prefer. But a if it's a large wedding, then I would suggest that they uh, they pay for a second. So I'll tell them to um, to basically potentially let me bring a second, and that costs a little bit extra. I prefer to work alone, so I don't like to take on clients that are doing these extravagant weddings because I can't handle 300 person weddings. Just the stress level and the level of expectations doesn't match with my personality type. So I like these medium-sized wedding. So what a medium-sized wedding would be somewhere between 100 to 200 people. Um, Anything above that, typically you'll need a second photographer. And then if it's anything like sometimes Indian weddings, that can be like a 3 4 day thing with 500 people. I usually turn those down because they're too time consuming, and it's I don't have the stamina to roll 4 days straight. So I will typically turn those down. So that's why like how many guests is at the very top of my questionnaire, and then the time coverage you're looking for. My packages already give them an allocated set number of times. So my full wedding package is a 10-hour coverage. I think that's the sweet spot. And then how many locations? If they say there's like two or three, I might suggest that they ask for more hours of coverage because you lose a lot of time in between locations. So 10-hour coverage, I think, is perfect for like a wedding that's taking place right in the same site. So I love doing barn weddings where there's a cottage and then the wedding ceremony is in the same like a walking distance, and so you don't have to like get in your car and like go across town and lose an hour and get stuck in traffic and get waste time in the parking all that crap. So if it's all usually yeah, if it's all in the same spot, I'll tell them, 10 hours is more than enough. Let me get there while you're getting ready and then hang out with you until usually 1 hour into like the evening party. After that, after it gets, I don't know where you are, but I'm in Canada, and usually most weddings are over by like midnight, 1 o'clock. But I think by the time 10 o'clock rolls around, then there's no more anything interesting happening by then. So like I think I like to end it there and go home. So 10 hours. Ideally, I like to show up around like noon to 10. I think is the sweet spot. Anything beyond that, if they want to do 12 hours, then they'll have to pay me per hour. And I usually will tell them, hey, if you're not sure, just let me know the day of, and I'll bill you afterwards. And if they don't pay up, I don't just give them the photos for those 2 hours. That's it. I hold those hostage. Most of them will pay you, but I will typically not deliver those extra pictures unless they pay me. Because it's not always about the dinero, but like my time is valuable to me, so that's why I will not give them anything for free until that invoice is settled. And then working with a wedding planner. That's a question I like to ask because you can really wrap up the consultation call quicker if they're working with someone else. I don't have to ask them all of the following questions like what is the theme of the day, is there anything special happening. All that stuff can be redirected to the wedding planner. I'll ask them for the contact number and I'll reach out to them directly and save these clients a lot of time. At the end of the day, it's all about removing a lot of pain points, right? As less frustration you can bring them. It's already a stressful thing to plan a wedding. The photographer doesn't need to eat up a lot of these people's time. They probably are working full time and they're planning a 200 people party, and there's no need to ask them too many questions. So these are all of my questions. The things that are important to me is the editing. I would say probably making sure that they understand that the way I deliver my images, they're mostly color, but there's going to be a number of black and whites, the type of music they'll have in their video. And then afterwards, if they need help with booking vendors, then I'll send them a list, and then I tell them I'll get you the invoice later today, send it to them, and then hopefully the book. Usually, if you so the way the sales funnel work, um, a lot of people will contact you and ask you for your price, and then maybe you'll get, at least for me, I might get like 10 to 20% of the people on the phone. When I get them on the phone, I would say at that point I might lose half of them. So like for every invoice I send out and a contract I send out, I might book half of them. And so like that's how the sales funnel work. I have a lot of inquiries, and then I have consultation calls, and then usually once the bill is paid, then I know that booking is settled. So that's, the numbers that I typically run. If you're ever interested in maybe seeing my if you want a copy of my consultation document, just shoot me your email address, and I'll send you a copy. I have no problem giving it to you for free if you want. Um, as a thank you for being my first live guest, I guess I appreciate you still being here. So where do I get my music? Epidemic Sound. That's where I get all my music. It's a pretty good library. They actually have a um, a wedding catalog. It's not cheap though, so I think I pay $200 a month. So um, I find it that it could be cheaper. So I don't know how long I'm gonna continue to use them, but they let you download their tracks. So like I'm kind of building a catalog at home. Don't tell them if you work for Epidemic Sound, but I'm building my own catalog on my computer of all of the music that they have. So I might be able to use them without paying them going forward. But those, yeah, those bastards have. I like them. I shouldn't. They are bastards because they have ways to continue to squeeze money out of you. But so like I may not be able to use them on my YouTube channel because they share information between YouTube and Epidemic Sound. So like if I ever use their music on my channel, they have a copyright. They can hit me with a copyright claim if I'm not continuing to register and pay them on a monthly basis if I don't renew my membership. So then I can't use them in that sense. But yeah, it's. I wish there was a service that was maybe cheaper for what they deliver. So let me just show you what my how Epidemic Sounds work. Uh, so I'm already logged into my screen here. So you if you go here music and you scroll down to weddings, where is it? It's usually here. I guess they moved one of the themes. It used to be on the front page, but either way, um, they have like a catalog for weddings. Here you go. So here you go. They have a playlist, Wedding and Romance. So this is where I get a lot of my music. I think they have like 300 tracks, and then you can also go into the R&B section and other type of music to download copyright free music. And so let's say you want to walking down the aisle, the ceremony theme songs. You can see all my favorites. I like them. Those are the downloads that I made. So this is where I get my music. So this is one. It's a pretty good, like they have a pretty good catalog. I just find that for what they charge, it's a little bit too high. So um, it seems that it could be a cheaper service in my opinion. So any other questions about it? Epidemic Sounds of Music? I know that there are story blocks that's coming up. Um, I haven't used the service, but it's another one. You could get music off of Canva as well. Canva is pretty good. I have a Canva account to make my thumbnails for my wedding films. I use a lot of their graphics for my YouTube channel. They also have, I guess you pay them as well. It's like $16 a month. And then Storyblocks does a bit of what Canva does and a bit of what Epidemic Sound does. And they also give you free graphics and a few other things for I think $35 a month. That's I would probably start there if I were you. If I was starting over again, that's what I would go. Yeah, so that's where I get my music from? So we were talking about preparing for the big day. So you got your consultation. The next thing is to get a shot list, a in a list of pictures that your clients absolutely must have. If you've never done a wedding, one of the most stressful thing that is going to be reoccurring is really like the making sure that you get all the pictures these people want. So I when I send out my consultation contract, I also send out a questionnaire that has 88 photos. Excuse me, 88 specific photo poses, I guess. I don't know. I call them a questionnaire. It will basically say picture with mom, picture with dad, picture with the immediate family, picture with the dog, picture with the roommate, picture with my aunt traveling. So there's 80 different images that they must have that they might want. I make sure to make sure that they tell me exactly which ones are important to them. And yeah, it's important, and I use that list to basically remind myself to capture them. So what I do is I will download it on my computer, my phone, excuse me, and throughout the day, like I'm going through that checklist, and I'm like, all right, so did we get picture with Aunt Susie from England? And then sometimes it might happen that we can't capture the picture because grandma left because her hip is shit and she had to go home. So then I'm gonna go back to the client during the day and be like, hey, listen, we couldn't get picture with grandma because she went home. I know it was important, so I'm just letting you know when I deliver the gallery, don't be asking about grandma. Clearly, I'm not gonna talk to them that way, but they know that I had that conversation and I remembered. So yeah, so if you also want that my key shot list, I'd be more than happy to send it to you again. Like I said, give me your email, I'll send it to you. And yeah, so that's the posing list. Now, this is the part of the wedding photography that to this day still gives me a lot of like I guess stress. Nothing else stressed me but this freaking thing. It's posing. So a lot of people struggle with posing, and I do a little bit um, because when the day is running and no venue is alike, so you can't really take the pictures that you may have in mind in that specific spot because it doesn't look good. So I struggle with posing, and you likely will too. And a lot of photographer who even been doing this for 5, 10 years also say that they have a problem with it. So again, make sure that you show up to the wedding day with a full phone that's fully charged because I use it not only to make sure that I get all the key shots that the client may want, but also like I have a running gallery of picture and poses that I might want to do and try out during the day. And not every pose work with every couple. Some poses don't work with. Sometimes it's bigger when the man is bigger, taller. It may not work if the wife is shorter or if the guy is like bit on the chunky side. Then some you might want to check, toss out some poses. And so I try to be discreet about it when I use my phone, but I'll refer to it relatively often to see, okay, let me try that one, let me try that one. Some clients may not want to do what you have envisioned. Don't push anything, and then you'll be all right. So yeah, so posing is the biggest. A lot of hurt is a big hurdle for a lot of photographers getting started, and even if they've been in the game, they still struggle with it. Okay. So on the wedding day, communication is like bad man and Bane. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I always tell my students to always try to stay in communication because don't forget your couples they're working with a lot of vendors, so you're not the only one in that they're going to be talking to, especially the days leading up to it. So make sure that you're upfront and you reach out to them at least a week before the wedding day to find out if anything changed on the timeline, and then at least the day before, a quick text message to let them know, hey, I'm going to be there. I like, to let them know you're going to be leaving at 10 a.m. and you're going to show up at the venue at that specific time. And then also message them again when you're leaving the house to say you're on your way. That way they're not wondering. if you're going to show up or not. You are the photographer. You know, you're likely going to be the last vendor that they talk to after the wedding is all said and done. The DJ will go home, the caterer will go home, the decoration people will go home, but the photographer will still be talking to that client weeks afterwards. And you better bring a lot of a good experience for them. Otherwise, a lot of the frustration that they may have for other vendors might be taken out on you. So make sure that you stay in contact with them as much as you can, and it really will lead to further referrals down the road. So yeah, other pieces. So now when you go home, make sure you have a system in place for your photos. I apologize. My dog is whining in the background, so we'll just ignore him for a little bit. But Tom Hardy was taller than Christian Bale in The Dark Knight. It's been a while since I saw the Batman movie, so I can't remember. But yeah, I don't know the reference that you're making. But if couples who have a big size and height difference are hard to photograph and pictures look odd, um, try your best. One of the techniques that I use for especially a guy that's significantly taller than his wife is to have him come down to her level. So like not bend his knees, but actually come down on his knees sometimes, depending on the height. And it usually you can redo the same poses from a different angle, and that helps a lot. You can't do anything by a guy who's too big. If you can't wrap his hand around her because he's big chunky, then find an interesting pose that he could do, and then so be it. Yeah. So as I was saying, the post processing and editing, you know, I suggest you start working on those images as quickly as you possibly can. I deliver a preview of the photo galleries within 3 days because they're going to be hyped up about it. They're still going to have the hype of the wedding. So I like to send them a number of pictures from their wedding, depending on the number of hours I was there. If it's a full day, like a 10-hour day, I will easily send out like 20 to 30 images, like from all parts of the day within 3 days, because those are the ones that they want to put on Instagram and show off. And you don't want to make them wait 6 weeks because then the high is going to be gone, and those pictures may not show up online. So you want to get everyone hyped up as quickly as possible. So do a quick call and pick out a number of pictures you think they'll like. Obviously, don't send all the best one, but you want to send like a good quality photos to your clients, and within at least 3 days, 3 or 4 days, a week max, but usually 3 or 4 days, you want to deliver up a sneak peek, and that's what I would do. And then 4 to 6 weeks is what I promise my clients, but I try to deliver usually within 3 to 4 weeks. Um, I don't know if you've done a wedding before, but it used to take me a long time to edit a full wedding day. Usually, I'm a bit of an overshooter, so I will take 4,000 picture in any given day, and yeah, and that used to take me at least 2 evenings to just call them out, and then another 2 weeks to edit them. I can deliver a full gallery now in like 2 days, maybe 3 days max. Because times we're in 2024, AI is insane. I'm gonna give you all my trick, my friend, and I don't actually edit my photos anymore. Uh, 4K pictures. No, you mean like for not? I don't. I still do my video editing by hand because that technology is in there. But for pictures, um, 4,000. Yeah, 4,000 pictures. Yeah, and if you have a second shooter, you might go through 6,000. So I use Imagine AI to edit my photos, and so it's a paying service. It may cost me $50, but it would save me like 10 to 15 hours, and it learns your style, so it mimics the way you edit. So usually you have to upload, I think, somewhere between 3 to 6,000 photos, like fully edited pictures, like final images, and it will replicate your style. It still doesn't like do exactly what you do, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good to replicate that your look. And I don't mind seeing a little bit of different images to save me 15 hours. So I'm gonna just put you on hold for a second. I apologize. I gotta go deal with my dog for a little bit. Okay, I'll be right back. 5 minutes max. Hey man, you haven't left. I appreciate it. You're still here. You're a patient guy. I thanks for that. So as I was saying, yeah, 4,000 images. That's the norm, and yeah, it's a lot of images. And don't use Adobe Lightroom to call your photos because it's a very slow software. So like it takes forever to go from picture one to picture two. I use Photo Mechanic, and I can quickly go through 4,000 pictures. Um, on average, 4,000 pictures will take me 2 to 3 hours culling. And so I use Photo Mechanic to cull, and then I upload my galleries to Imagine AI for editing. And so they'll do a lot of the leveling of the photos and the exposure and all that good stuff for around $40-50, and then I'll just import them into. My dog is wearing a cone. He just got fixed today, so it's gonna be in the background making a bit of a. Let me put him capture Imagine AI. Um, Here, come here, little shit. Yeah, Capture One. I don't know about Capture One. Is that an AI editing system? I haven't used it. Or is that a culling system? I don't know. I uh, I use Photo Mechanic to cull, and then Imagine AI to edit my photos, and they save me a lot of time, and they do a really excellent job. I'm still teaching the system to really replicate my exact style, um, and so we're getting there. Um, and then again, I still have to do a little bit of work on the back end. Once I bring the images back, I like to make my couples look good. So like I will actually go through the full gallery again. So once I call, I usually would take 4,000 picture and narrow it down to about like 700 to 800 photos. So I'll go through them again and edit out like little things like pimples and like um, acne scars and all the like ugly stuff that some couples may be insecure about. So I'll do that. If it's a couple that has a lot of like blemishes, I had a client who had a horrible case of the acne. So he had scars all over his face the day of his wedding, and I'm telling you, I had to do a lot of work to make them half decent. So like I will still go back and do a bit more work on those galleries on the back end, but it used to take me 20 hours on average to deliver a full wedding gallery, just the photos alone. Now I can do that in like 5. So like 15 hours is like 3 nights, 2 full days of editing. So I will do anything that I can to get my time back for $40 approximately. You can save yourself 15 hours of work. Why not? After you do like a number of weddings, editing images gets boring, and it's my least favorite part of the job, editing photos. I rather work on a video, to be quite honest, but it pays the bills, right? So still got to do it. And if an AI can do my job and I can still make the same money, why not? Yeah. So tip to remember: you might be tempted to erase the photos from your memory cards. I have a number of pouches that I have on my desk, and I will not delete any of the any of the weddings off of my memory card until I deliver the wedding and they're happy with it. I will not delete. I will wait. I will use a new batch for my next couple. I will keep the wedding memory card on at home until I deliver the final gallery, just in case my computer crash, something happens to my hard drive. I have those backed up onto a memory card, and I can just at least restart the work, even if I lose a lot of time. And that's how I typically do it. I don't know if you read Reddit. Reddit has a really good wedding photography subreddit where you can read all of the horror stories of people who've like shot a wedding that they haven't delivered yet on top of the memory card. Rookie shit, stupid mistakes like that. Um, Rookie mistakes, something that anyone with any common sense would never do. And then having to call their clients and tell them they lost their weddings, ridiculous stuff like that. Maybe perhaps avoid all that. Buy more memory cards than you need. They're not that expensive, so make the investment because one lawsuit really can take you out for good. So yeah, post processing, 4 to 6 weeks. Try to get there. Try to under promise and over deliver. There is nothing better than a couple who sees their photos sooner than they expected. Yeah, there's a lot of rookie mistakes that people make that anybody with common sense would avoid, but I guess not these people. So um, I still haven't implemented an offsite saving system. So like some photographers pay for to save their galleries onto like a online platform somewhere else in the world in case, let's say, their houses catches on fire and they lose everything, that at least those wedding pictures are still there. But if my house burns down, the last thing I'm gonna worry about is the client's photos. At that point, I'm already down and out. So what? Your pictures are gone. I lost my house and everything. You know what I mean? So I try to do my best to safeguard clients' photos as best as I possibly can, but not to the point where I am sacrificing everything ahead of that. So yeah, so make sure that not to make these mistakes and deleting and reformatting cards. I heard that, and it hasn't happened to me, but a lot of people suffer memory card failure when they delete photos directly on the camera. So like let's say you took a number of pictures and you decide that you don't like a specific one and you delete it. You want to delete that picture, then it can corrupt the card. So like if you take a shitty picture, excuse my language, but if you take a bad picture, just let it be, and then just shoot the next one, keep going, and then only reformat your cards once you deliver the gallery, and just skip over that not so great picture. Okay. Last few things that I want to talk about is your portfolio. I don't know where you are in your journey of wedding photography, but building a brand and a portfolio is really like a very important step in the process. So you know, make sure that you know a brand isn't just your portfolio. It's also like client referrals, what people think of you, testimonials, all of that, the way you talk to people, how passionate you are, your style. It's everything about your business, yourself, your look, your cameras, your reputation. So you know what to do. You need to build an online presence. You need to have social media. You need to. The next thing is client testimonials. I would suggest to use Google My Business page to ensure that whenever you deliver a gallery and your client is super happy about that, they go there and at least give you a 5-star review. Then Google will know that you are an active business, and then any couple that Googles you or Google a photographer in your city can see that what your clients think of you. That's a big thing. And also make sure that you only ask those clients who you think will give you a 5-star review to give you a testimonial. If you know that a client is not too happy about the work you deliver, maybe not ask them anything, but you want to have a clean 5-star rating. So only ask of those that really think highly of your work or who are satisfied to give you a testimonial, because they're super important. One, for those clients who don't know you will get a first-hand experience about you, and also I'll give you a quick tip. Something I learned recently: you can repurpose a testimonial for a Instagram content. So you can go and take like what someone said about you, put it on a cool picture, postcard, or something fancy, and give it a fancy title saying what my clients think of me. And then you post it on your portfolio on your Instagram that says 5 stars. I don't haven't asked your name yet, but Sam was an amazing photographer. He did all this stuff for us, and I would highly recommend him. That could be like a content item for one day, and that will anyone who follows you who might stumble onto that particular image. So maybe make note of it and use it as a content that you can repurpose for that. So yeah, and then other than that, networking is could be something that could help you, but not networking with other photographers, because photographers will look at you as the enemy. I guess maybe not the enemy, I'm being over dramatic here, but maybe the competition. So like you will likely have a hard time connecting with a photographer within your city, because they're going to see as someone who's trying to take money out of their wallet. So when I say network, I'm trying to refer you to other vendors. So the ones that you really want to network with are like the venues. So if you can make it on a particular venue's preferred list, that would be ideal. You want to network with florists. You want to network with catering. Those are going to be the guys um, who you can really befriend, that you can refer each other. Trying to connect with other photographer in your town. At least for me, most of them don't. We don't. Not that we don't like each other, but we don't associate with each other too much, because we are direct competitions. We're competing with each other. We're trying to secure contracts, and becoming too close or sharing too much information with one another can essentially hinder your business. And just so you know, when you're gonna get started, you might be tempted to go and seek out second shooting opportunities. Um, I don't know about you, but that's one of the recommendations that any photography course suggests, and that's likely not gonna happen. I'm gonna give it to you straight up. Second shooting opportunities are not gonna be there. No one in your town is going to train up their competition to take business away from you. So don't let anybody else dictate the pace of your business, and start taking on contracts. Even if you do the work for free for the first few weddings, I think you'll be better for it. At least build that experience. Your clients will know that you're new based on the packages, the prices that you will charge. So when you come in at zero, they'll know you're a complete novice, and so their expectations are going to match. And so start taking on free work. I would say at least do 3 to 5 wedding at most for free, at least to just build your initial portfolio, and then start charging. So the way I set my pricing when I first started is I did a bit of like Market analysis. I went online and I looked up a dozen photographers in my town, and I looked at their pricing pages, and I did a bit of math, and I figured out what the average wedding package costs in my town. And then I started charging, I think 80%. I started giving 80% discounts from the top. So I think the way I incrementally increased my pricing was from zero to, I believe, 500. So just to give you, context, the average wedding package for full day coverage, full day meaning between 10 to 12 hours, is about $3,000 in my town. And so I came in at like zero for a few weddings, and then I went up to 500, then I went up to 800, then I went up to 1200, and then within about 1 to 2 years, I was already at the median, so like around $3,000 average, and I charge about the right down the middle, and that's so within usually 1 year, if you book enough weddings, say like 20 to 30 weddings within 1 year, you should be getting to the median pricing range of your industry. If you take too long to raise your prices, your 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 clients will not think highly of you. So like if you're too cheap of a photographer, um, clients will look down on you and say, well, I'm going to go with the more expensive guy because clearly he's the better photographer, even though it doesn't take much to catch up to the pack. So that's why I'm telling you, by your 20th client to your 25th client, you should be like charging the average. And then it's up to you the kind of photography you want to do going forward. Like if you want to be a luxury photographer and deal with these like high level, rich um, celebrities or whatever, you want to charge 10,000, 20,000 uber luxury wedding, which is not my cup of tea, then you can go that route. Clearly, you will book a lot less weddings, but at least you make a lot of money. But that then will also come with a lot of expectations. I want to be in the middle. I want to make good money while having a reasonable, um, clientele with reasonable expectations. So that's my suggestion for you when it comes to, you know, getting your business off the ground and actually generating sustainable income. You don't want to work for cheap for too long because your time is valuable. After the novelty wears off, you're going to quickly get tired of looking at like weddings and photos if you're not making good enough money, which is why I'm suggesting like don't take too long to raise your prices. It's gonna be scary, but you'll once you see clients paying for these big amounts, you'll realize you're worth. So I hope that helps. So we're pretty much at the end of the lesson today. I would suggest learning a lot online. I have a lot of behind the scenes videos that you can watch me work through the day. So that way you can know what to expect, what goes on a regular day. There's a bunch of like wedding photographers online on YouTube where you can watch their work, and there's a lot of valuable free content you can that you could go to. Reading, there's a couple of good books that I may recommend. One is um, one by Taylor Jackson. I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's a relatively big YouTuber, photographer who lives in Waterloo, Ontario. He not far from where I live, who has a big wedding photography channel. So I recommend maybe watching his work. His book, After 1,000 Weddings, is pretty good. He teaches a lot of the same thing I do, which is like the business aspect of wedding photography. So it's not just wedding photography. Taking pictures is such a like small sliver of this process. Most of it is like business marketing. That's what wedding photography is. If you think wedding photography is taking a picture, it's literally like a small fraction of what we do. It's mostly about like advertising and marketing and talking to clients and networking and building content. That's what wedding photography is. The photography is important, having fundamental skills and knowing the exposure triangle is important and your gear, but business marketing is what separates those who do this for a living and build a sustainable business and those that wash out and essentially their business fell within a year or two. So, my friend, I hope that information was helpful to you. We are at the hour mark, hour and 20 minutes. I appreciate you watching my live. I appreciate you being my first live streamer who stuck around. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them now. And then, uh, and then if not, I really appreciate you sitting around. I'll be doing more of these lives going forward. So I think I hopefully I did well, and it's not as hard as I thought it might be. But nonetheless, I really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you in the next one. So thank you and take care. Yeah, I appreciate your comment. Thank you. So I'm gonna try to do them on a weekly basis. The next one is gonna be likely about lessons that I've learned. Um, some of the things the mistakes that I made along the way. I want to share that, and then hopefully the more um, individuals that join the chat might share their own stories and their own do's and don't, and then we may learn from one another. So if you want to sit in on that, I will try to advertise the next live session before I go live, and then it might be interesting to whoever's logs in. So I see you said wait, so I'll wait for your question. Go for it. Yeah, yeah. This is this is my XT4. It's a 23 millimeter f1.4 that I use, and then I'll go grab my other camera. And then, so as I was saying, I use I would say for 80% of the day, I'm using two cameras. So I have my silver XT3 that I had mentioned earlier. This is usually my second camera. I will have a 56 f1.2 on it majority of the day, and then for the ceremony, I will have a 70 to 200 or the official Fujifilm 50 to 140, which is a 70 to 200 on it during the ceremony. But the rest of the day, I'm using an 85 or 56 on it. Yeah, thank you. So I like the cage because I will put a GoPro on mine because I like to shoot behind the scenes. Um, for the YouTube channel. So I will typically have a GoPro like this. So like I can take picture and videograph my sessions. So like that. So like I'm taking pictures and it's recording. And I have the same cage. It's a small rig cage on the other one too, so I can put a GoPro on the other. And so the other usefulness of the small rig is I can have this little hook here that would be on my harness like this, but I also have a tripod plate on it, so that way, like if I want to put it on a tripod or a monopod, I can quickly. So I have best of both worlds. That's why I use a cage on my cameras. And the grip, the small rig grip, you can find it on Amazon. They're like about $100, and you can color match them. So That's why I have a silver grip on this one, and then a black grip on this one. Yeah, so, and then my third camera, which is configured a little bit differently, is the XT3 as well, and it has a battery grip on it, which allows me to put multiple batteries um, on it, so I can put three cameras. So if you could just hold for just a 1 second, I'll be right back. Yeah, 1 second. You want the dog? Which then you do. Here you go. Little one. No, you take him. I'm still alive. Take care. Tiffany, so I'm still busy. Huh? I don't know. We'll see. The joys of yeah, that's my wife right there. Of course, she's got to interrupt my first live, right? It's all good though. Learning experience. As I was saying, my third camera is configured a little bit differently. I have so if you ever, I know you like Fujifilm, but you don't own one. I'm gonna tell you the XT3 especially. They're using the old batteries. They die so quickly. So like I own like a dozen of these batteries. That's why I have a grip on this one, because I have one battery in the regular in the camera and then two more, so I can triple the capacity of the camera. And this is my primary, like this is just a video camera. It will usually be like on a monopod all day. And so like whenever I'm doing hybrid coverage, I will bring out this camera and I'll put it down. I will use it for the ceremony specifically. It will be the one that will be standing next to me, facing down the aisle, and I'll be recording the bride and the bridal party walking up the aisle. And then I'll use it for the speeches. I'll use it for the first dance. I'll use it for a number of like different situations where I need to do both photo and video at the same time. Mind you, I could every single one of those cameras can do photo and video at the same by just going and changing the feature, not the feature, but rather the setting. But sometimes you don't know when to do photo, when to do video, and that third camera does gives me that opportunity. It's almost like a second shooter, and the monopod that I own is so stable, has such a wide legs that I can almost put it on grass and the camera will go nowhere. So those are my cameras. That's my gear. I own 5 lenses. This is my primary lens. This is a Tamron 17 to 70. I guess full frame it would be considered a 24 to 100, and it's f2.8 throughout. It's worth $1,000. It's actually almost like half the price of a Fujifilm 24 to 70, or what they call the 16 to 55. It's cheaper. This lens is cheaper than the Fuji branded. The images are, from what I like, I don't own the other lens, but they're not that different from one another, being a 2.8 lens. However, reason why I went with this one, it was not because it was cheaper, but I went with it because it has vibration control. So like for video, this is a lot more uh, optimal for it. It has in-body stabilization, so like I can record video handhold and it will stabilize the picture, and it's perfect. That's literally, it's ideal for that. And so that's why I went with this one. It's nice that it's cheaper, but it was not the reason why I went with this lens. You get a little bit more range. So like instead of 55, you can go all the way to 77. So I guess 100mm lens. But I went primarily because I do hybrid coverage, so I need a video lens. Paired with the XT4, it's like perfect. It's literally the camera and lens combination that I use for 80% of the day. The other lenses is the 56, which is on my other camera for majority of the time. And then I will switch to my prime lenses in the evening. So like I will stop using this lens when it gets to nighttime. At f2.8, the pictures aren't that great, even with flash. So I will switch to my 23, which is a 35mm full frame equivalent. and with flash, and then a 56 on my other cameras, and the pictures are amazing. Um, and so I know a lot of people say APS-C cameras are not exactly ideal in low light situations, but Adobe leveled the playing field with denoise. So like Adobe denoise is so good at what it does. It cleans out the images so great that at this point I'm wondering if it's even worth upgrading to a full frame camera. I was thinking I might do it within year one or two, but I'm just sticking with Fujifilm for the next few years. So um, I hope that helps. That's my gear. Did you have any other questions? No problem. Well, I wish you best of luck. If there is one lesson that maybe you can learn from this live stream is, like I said, is do not wait for anybody to help you kickstart your business. Full steam ahead. I would say start taking as many weddings as you possibly can. Start small, walk before you run. Do a few weddings for free. Make sure that they understand that you are brand new at it, and make sure you have a contract at any time. So like make sure that your client cannot sue you and take you out for whatever reason. Brides and grooms can get emotional over things, and you don't want to be that person that they take the frustration on. So do things for free, go in slow, and make sure that you have a a contract in place to save your business. Would you buy a medium format camera? Um, Not necessarily. Maybe no, I wouldn't. I find they're too bulky. If we're talking about like the medium camera, like the Fujifilm GFX 100 megapixel camera, it's way too overkill for a wedding. Weddings are run and gun. Um, GFX one, the camera is large, and since you're likely going to be working with two cameras, I would highly recommend staying away from the medium format. And then also, like these lenses, the image, the size of the image. So like a a a medium format camera will likely going to like deliver 100 megapixel, 100 megabyte image compared to like a full frame or an APS-C camera at 33. It's going to bog down your computer. You don't want to come back with a 1 terabyte worth of information. Um, I don't know about you or what computer you're working with, but I'm using a tower with a bunch of fans, and my computer would struggle using the file sizes. So I'd suggest medium format cameras are not good for wedding photography because you're dealing with a high volume of images. Medium camera format are perfect for studios when you need to maybe perhaps blow up a picture for like a billboard. Then maybe the 100 megapixels is useful at that end, but I think it's way overkill. The cameras are expensive. I think a GFX now comes in at $1,000 before the lens of the batteries, and I don't know how much the lens are, to be honest with you. Maybe 3 grand. Do you really need a $15,000 camera to do a wedding? I'd say no. So medium cameras, if you want to buy one used for the fun of it, maybe, but for wedding photography, it's way overkill. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Well, if you don't have any more, I'm going to wish you a good night. And again, I appreciate you sticking around for the live. I hope what I shared absolutely well. Like I said, since my first live was a complete disaster, I might do more of it. And hopefully I'll get better as the time goes, and I'll bring you guys more valuable information. But for now, I think we'll leave it at that. So again, thank you very much for sticking around. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have yourself a good night.